Prime Minister Narendra Modi recently announced the opening of two new Indian consulates in Boston and Los Angeles, marking a significant expansion of India's diplomatic footprint in the United States. This move caters to the long-standing demands of the Indian-American community in these influential cities. Boston is a prominent hub for education and pharmaceuticals, while Los Angeles, home to Hollywood, will host the next Summer Olympics. With the addition of these consulates, India aims to provide better consular service to its diaspora and boost trade, education and cultural ties. US-India maintains a vast network of diplomatic missions across the globe to manage its foreign relations and offer services to the Indian diaspora. These missions include embassies, high commissions, consulates and permanent missions depending on the nature of India's diplomatic relation with each other and other countries. Let's also listen into what the Prime Minister has to say.
Friends, अमेरिका में रहने वाला भारतीय समुदाय हमारे संबंधों की महत्वपूर्ण कड़ी है। हमारे पीपल टू पीपल टाइज को और गहरा करने के लिए हम शीघ्र ही लॉस एंजलिस और बॉस्टन में भारत के नए कॉन्सुलेट खोलेंगे। हमने अमेरिका की यूनिवर्सिटी और शिक्षा संस्थानों को भारत में ऑफशोर कैंपस खोलने के लिए निमंत्रण दिया है।
And for more on this, I am being joined by two esteemed guests, Dr. Professor M.D. Nalapat, and I hope I'm saying it correctly. Mr. Nalapat, can you correct me if I'm wrong? It's Nalapat, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much. He's a geopolitical and international expert, viewers, and I'm also being joined by Derek Grossman, Senior Defense Analyst at RAND Corporation. First, coming to you, Derek Grossman, how do you and what is the diasporic population in these areas? How do you see the opening of the two new consulates?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, I think it's going to be a very important achievement because, I mean, of course, Los Angeles, where I'm sitting right now, is America's second largest city, and to not have a consulate there when you also have a very large Indian diaspora population living here, I think was kind of a gap in India's consular network. And as you mentioned in your opening, Boston, is a city that has a tremendous network through educational institutions there that, of course, the Indian diaspora, Indian students coming in from India, they go there to learn and to professionalize. And so I think this is a really important development that the Prime Minister mentioned today at the White House next to President Trump.
Right. Mr. Nalapat, can you describe the importance of having these consulates? Will it help in deepening people-to-people linkages?
Well, the answer is, of course, yes. The Indian diaspora is not only large in size, it's also substantial in terms of its contribution to U.S. society and to U.S. economy. The Indian diaspora are very many times the net contributors to the American tax system, unlike some other diasporas. And where law and order is concerned, frankly, the extent of law-breaking by the Indian diaspora is very small. Now, Prime Minister Modi and Trump, clearly they have now started the process of establishing new ties in Trump 2.0. And Trump 2.0 is very different from Trump 1.0. Trump 1.0 was an administration in which no less than the chief of Armed Forces Staff, General Mark Milley, rang up his Chinese counterpart and said, "Don't worry, I am going to disobey the commander-in-chief, the US president." Now, frankly, I mean, mine may be not a legally trained mind, but it seems to me either treason or borderline treason for the chief of the combined chiefs of staff to basically tell an adversary country, the head of the PLA that don't worry, we are going to disobey the lawfully elected president. So quite frankly, this is a completely new Trump. He has taken over the administration in a way that was not possible previously, where a large number of individuals in the staff of various departments, including some of the secretaries appointed by him, basically made it a practice to disobey his orders. Now, the Economist editor said, oh, we don't know if the Pentagon is going to be broken under Trump. Look, let me assure the Economist that it's not going to be broken. It's going to be, as the Prime Minister has eloquently put it, it's going to reform and perform. It's going to be a new Pentagon. This is 2025. It's not 1995. It's a new situation, a new global situation. And in this global situation, all of us want peace, so does President Trump. And because the point is, peace can only be secured when the democracies are strong enough to deter our common adversaries from attempting war against any part of the democracies. So I think that is a very crucial point. India and the US need to work closely together on that. And looking the Tawa Rana extradition, looking at the defense deals that have come unblocked, looking at so much that has happened, my view is that the Prime Minister's visit has been a great success. And I think the Prime Minister fully understands the difference between Trump 1.0 and Trump 2.0.
Right. Derek Grossman, if you can, give us a rough idea of how many students live in Boston and New England area, and how will these consulates help in engaging and promoting Indian culture and heritage?
Yeah, well, I don't have the numbers offhand, okay, but it is a very significant population. I believe it's in Los Angeles area. It is the largest or one of the largest populations of Indian Americans living here. Also, if you kind of look more broadly at South Asians, I believe it is the largest population of South Asians, or one of the largest populations of South Asians, living in America, in this city. And so, again, I think that it is a very significant achievement that the Prime Minister mentioned today, along with President Trump. And, kind of on a broader point, when we talk about the Indo-Pacific in the United States, and especially our Indo-Pacific strategy, we sometimes will refer to it from Bollywood to Hollywood, right? And so if you don't have a consular presence or an Indian diplomatic presence in Hollywood itself, then it somewhat undermines the notion, right, that this is an area that is kind of connected in many ways, not just, through the performing arts, through movies, right, but also, through lots of other means, such as, people-to-people ties, but also diplomatic, economic, and security ties as well. So I think that this is something that is, maybe kind of, to be honest, kind of flew a little bit below the radar today with all of the other announcements that came out of the White House meeting. But I think it's still extremely significant, and I'm glad we're covering it here tonight.
Professor Nalapat, with these two new consulates, what will be our total strength in our diplomatic presence in the United States?
Well, look, the fact of the matter is that the United States has frequently said, and so has India, this is the most important bilateral relationship. The number of military-to-military exercises between the US and India is much more than the number of exercises either of them does with any other single country. And yes, the Indo-Pacific is now front and center of US thinking in a way I regret to say it's not of the thinking in Europe. I think Europe, as of now, I think by in the next 4 or 5 years, you're going to see some electoral avalanches there also. The reality is today's theater of concern is the Indo-Pacific, it's not the Atlantic. Today, the allies which are necessary for the United States, as well as the adversary, they're all in Asia. They're no longer in Europe. I must say that President Trump and his administration have been very forthright. And I'd like to, I predicted that it's going to be a very warm meeting in the face of so many doomsayers. And I am predicting very clearly that the Trump team, whether you have Michael Waltz, whether you have Tulsi Gabbard, whether you have Robert F. Kennedy, who, till now, the Department of Health and Health Services was basically running as an agency on behalf of the pharma companies. And that is ridiculous. Kennedy knows that. The processed food industry was dominating the administration's policy towards foods. That has harmed the United States badly. It's harming the whole world with toxic US processed foods flooding all kinds of markets. Whether it's Robert Kennedy, there's Tulsi Gabbard, whether it is the new NSA, where all these people, they understand the centrality of India, and each of them shares President Trump's concern for peace, the same concern Prime Minister Modi has. And all these people, including President Trump and Prime Minister Modi, are very clear-headed that security is the bedrock of maintaining peace. You've seen threats on the India border. You've seen takeovers of territory in the Philippines. You've seen the takeover of territory in the South China Sea, and you've seen takeover of Taiwanese land, and not land, but so much as airspace in Taiwan, which is, or sea space also, which frankly is unacceptable. So very, very frankly, any democracy in the Indo-Pacific faces a threat. Well, that is a common threat for all of us. I'm very, very certain the two leaders are going to be on the same page, and I know very well the Trump team is very much on the same page on that. Thank you.
Absolutely, and we all hope for that this remains the same. India-US ties soar higher in the coming days. Thank you so much, Derek Grossman and Professor M.D. Nalapad, for joining us on that issue.